Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome to what World of Tanks is all about. Something that's very easy to forget about the game. It's about close battles, it's about dramatic moments, it's about, sometimes, love it or hate it, a little bit of RNG, either going your way or going in the enemy team's favor. And today, we're going to have all of that in this video. Today I'm going to be playing in the 60 TP. This is one of, if not my favorite tier 10 heavy tanks, and I'd say it's probably, all in all, my best performer. The 60 TP in the current patch has definitely lost some of its capabilities, especially if you're a complete free-to-play player who refuses to fire high explosive anti-tank rounds, which are the gold rounds on this vehicle. The high explosive changes to this tank have definitely affected its ability to be able to fight vehicles like this. At least, unless it gives you a complete flush shot into the side of the chieftain, right? The T95 FV4201, aka the chieftain, aka the donkerer, whatever you want to be calling it, is a vehicle that when it's hull down just simply outclasses the 60 TP. But if we could manage to, nearly loop a shell over the ridgeline into the side of the FV4201 there, that would have been absolutely delicious. And I tell you what, this FV4201 is definitely not having a very good day so far. This vehicle is probably one of the more tricky tanks to mark inside the game, and they've got 2 marks of excellence on the barrel of their gun. So it surprises me a player like that would be down to pretty much a third of their hit points at the start of the battle. And it could have been pretty much out of the game if we'd managed to hit the shot into the side. I have to admit, whenever I see chieftains on the enemy team, and let me know in the comments if you do the same thing, definitely step up your game a little bit. It's like that smelling salts, right? Oh, okay, somebody who's playing a little bit seriously here on the enemy team. Obviously somebody who's managed to earn a tricky tank to be able to earn, and a bit of a kind of a gold dust tank in World of Tanks. So when I do see those chieftains, you don't need XVM to kind of XVM snipe them, right? Because you know, as a top tier heavy tank, that if you don't stop them, that they're going to be able to usually rip through your team. And if you're an experienced player, you should take it upon yourself not to just try and go and farm the lesser vehicles on the enemy team, or arguably the lesser players. You should take it upon yourself to go after the most dangerous, powerful vehicles, because if you can defeat them, then it's probably going to be an easier ride for your team. So I was a little bit frustrated there that I took a bit of a shot, and I missed it, and then I wasn't ready to load to go for the E50M. Fortunately for me, that E50M is a little bit of a tourist here. They're kind of hanging around, not really knowing where they should be going, and we managed to deliver a second round into the E50M. First one, obviously, was a bit of an ill-fated loss of an opportunity. And whenever you've got 750 alpha damage, such as you do in the 60 TP, with its fabulous 152.4mm caliber gun, and that 152.4, that extra 2.4 millimeters is actually very important in World of Tanks. It allows you to overmatch all 50mm caliber plates that a vehicle like the E100 just down below me, for example, with its 150mm caliber gun, simply can't do. And you'll be surprised how many roof plates on a vehicle are 50mm in caliber. Alright, so far this game, it has been an incredible free-to-play round. We fired 8 armor-piercing rounds. We haven't managed to, we haven't been forced to fire the high-explosive anti-tank rounds. We're up to 3,000 damage. And we haven't even been scratched. I'm going to use the new Intuition Perk to fire our first gold round of this game, reloading it very quickly. Excuse me, sorry, I don't know where that came from. And then we're going to be able to put a round into the side of the E100 turret as they over-angled it. I expect what they were doing is trying to make the front of their turret less of a weak point. However, by over-angling their turret as they did, that just makes the side of it vulnerable to our high explosive anti-tank rounds. So I'm suggesting to my CS63 to fall back after he manages to kill the E50M, because, yeah, like we really want to go and drive into this hold-down monstrosity. Good luck trying to deal with the chieftain with practically no weak points on top of the vehicle, now with the high explosive rounds being nerfed. And oh wow, he's got a girl on top of the vehicle as well. Yeah, okay. They're painting the whole picture there. You know, until I saw the girl on top of the tank, I really thought that maybe I would stand a chance. But, of course, I didn't see it during the game. It's not like you could use a free camera to fly above your vehicle. Imagine if that was the case, and you had something like a drone, right, that you could put out. I digress. Focus on the game, Scrublord. So I'm asking this E50M to come with me. I want to try and isolate the Chieftain. There's a Panzer 7 down on the beach. Maybe we can take the Chieftain out and then have the high ground against the Panzer 7. Alright, well, I don't quite have enough alpha damage to be able to take this Chieftain out in a single shot, so my plan is to ram them as well, and... oh, well, actually ended up going pretty well. My high roll means that we don't even have to ram the Chieftain. It would have been a bit of a disaster if I had really low rolled down to about 600 there and not had the alpha damage to be able to take them out. But when you're in these kind of situations, where they've got 2 artillery, they've got a powerful tank in a hold-down scenario, and the enemy are pushing towards your artillery along the eastern flank, you have to take matters into your own hand. That Object 261 has still been hitting me pretty hard. They've dealt 600 damage to me with the 2 rounds that have hit my vehicle. I'm not going to be able to find that GWE 100, and my 2 medium tanks are going to handle them, so I'm going to find the Object 261 instead. I'm going to fire a shell when we're fully aimed, and oh dear, disaster. I actually end up firing maybe a little bit too slow there, and it allows the Object 261 to reload and shoot my E50M for 300 damage. We'll have to find out later on in the replay whether I'm going to regret maybe aiming a little bit more than I possibly needed to there. Although, to all intents and purposes, if we hadn't fully aimed, we might have missed the shot, and then he would have been able to reload to go after one of our vehicles. So, I think fully aiming to make sure you secure it in that scenario is still probably the best bet. Alright, so now it's myself and 2 tier 10 medium tanks versus 4 vehicles on the enemy team, and oh, a Panzer 7 has arrived. I've got an armor-piercing round loaded here, but again, you hear that ting. That's going to be me opening up the cash register, borrowing some money to be able to fire these more expensive, high-explosive anti-tank rounds. But the new Intuition Perk on a vehicle like this kind of makes up for the nerfs to the high-explosive rounds on the vehicle. Now, I know where the weak point is on the Panzer 7, and that is a shot that I was very happy about. Underneath a dead TVP, into the side of the Panzer 7's weak point, but oh dear, I'm down on HP, and I'm reloading, and the 121B has my side. I'm going to put 1 round into their front, and oh dear, they ammo rack me. I've managed to get the ammo rack fixed, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to reload in time, and I'm just turning, come on, oh dear. Doesn't look like we quite had the driver skills to be able to keep the frontal armor of our tank towards our opponent, but luckily for us, that shell that we put into the 121B means that, and forcing them also to come into an awkward situation, now we're going to be passing the baton, so to say, to a Kiro and also to Tossic Rebel on our team, who's playing in the E50M and the CS63. I'm still really happy with what I was able to achieve here in the 60 TP, killing a third of the enemy team, and also managing to go down swinging, which is one of the most important things that you can do. We are now only 1,000 hit points below the enemy team, and our 2 medium tanks have actually got a bit of a pincer on the E100. One of the most important things that they can do is, as I said, although I mistyped it, focus the E100 whole you can. Well, that's a bit of a mistype. I meant to say while you can. And that's because the STRV-103B could be anywhere. If I was an STRV-103B, I would be either making my way along the north, I would make my way towards the mid-ridge, or alternatively, I could be flanking towards the south. And this E50M right now is in a position where he could be shot from any angle. Lucky for us, the Stridsvagn 103B was actually down on the beach, so they're not going to have the cross shot on the E50M. But unfortunately for the CS63... Okay. Unfortunately for the CS63, the STRV managed to find them. So ladies and gents, boys and girls, this is what I love to see. Well, maybe not the obscenities in the chat, but I love the CS63 being passionate, even in death. The CS63 is, this will be close, :D, big happy face. I tell the E50, good luck. And I warned the E50 because the armor model on the Stridsvagn 103B is quite complicated, that its only real option is to be able to fire high explosive anti-tank rounds frontally against the STRV 103B. You need a 121mm caliber gun with armor-piercing rounds or APCR rounds to be able to overmatch the STRV-103B's lower plate. Or I believe a 90mm caliber gun to be able to overmatch the side armor if you can see it, which of course you can't see when the STRV is pointing its gun directly at you for that fixed gun non-turreted tank. I'm trying to give the E50M, I have to admit, I may be backseat gaming a little bit too much here. I'm really pumped up, I'm really excited. I'm feeling this game. I'm feeling alive, feeling like I want to win, and feeling stoked that we might even have a chance of being able to come back into this battle. This is what World of Tanks is all about. I try to give the E50M a little bit of a pep talk, not sure if he needs it, saying a draw is a loss, so have fun and play to win. The CS63 on our team then says, too bad I cannot watch this ... Please tell me at chat after game what happened. Fingers crossed. So it sounds like the CS63 is a little bit of a nervous fellow. Maybe they feel that by watching the game after they've died that they're actually maybe get a little bit too stressed about it. For me personally, I totally agree. If you're having a play session, watching a game like this can only usually result in a disaster. Why? Because you have a third-person perspective. For you, you can spend all time not only snacking, having some drinks, but you can see the mini-map and you're not having to process all of the micro management. You can see the macro, and so it looks so easy for you as to what you should do. And unfortunately, the E50M manages to get spotted here. But where is the STRV going to be? I make the suggestions that they're going to be in the K78 area, because that's really the only place that the STRV could be where they wouldn't have shot the E50M. So it's very easy when you're being an armchair general to expect that everybody's going to play perfectly, and you don't expect any of the bad RNG to happen. You don't expect players to make mistakes when you're being the armchair general, right? Which is why it's quite good to actually leave the battle after you've died, because more often than not, unless you can really control your mentality, you're probably going to end up more frustrated watching the games then you're going to have those kind of jump out your seat and jump for joy kind of moments. And I feel that just being in the garage, you kind of expect there to be a loss popping up anyway. And if you see that there's a win, well, I guess it was that'll be a little bit of a sweetener, and it's nice to have a little bit of a surprise, right? So I say, mate, your only chance. And then I just decide at this point to not say anything more. Not for dramatic effect, because I really felt at the time I am saying too much, and I feel like I could confuse the player. And in the end, it's their game. Let them make their decisions. Let the chips fall where they may. And I'm hoping this E50M is going to be able to take this one down. So I decide to not say anything more, because there's only 2 minutes left on this game. The E50M against an STRV-103B. And I like the E50M's decision here to force the cap. By forcing the cap, also with some protection in the cap circle, it means that the STRV is probably going to have to come to them. So, which way would the STRV-103 be coming from? Well, to all intents and purposes, I feel that they were originally here, so I think the STRV might have been trying to flank round and go towards the central position. There's no doubt that where the E50M is very, very good indeed, the only issue is that this is a pretty obvious position, and I think that a good player on the enemy team might blind fire here. So, if I was the STRV, I would probably get into a bush over there. I'd try and get into a bush line over there, maybe fall back behind the bush and just fire blind into the bush. And if I hit the tracks, it's going to interrupt the cap circle. If I hit the hull, it's going to interrupt the cap circle, and I'll know where the E50M is and hopefully cause them to panic. Alright, so in this kind of a situation, it's very important to realize what kind of hit points you're on, and the E50M has 685, meaning that they're a two-shot for the STRV, unless the STRV does some kind of crazy mega low roll. So this is getting tense now, with 1 minute and 5 seconds left on the game. Both vehicles manage to miss each other. But now the STRV goes forwards, knows where the E50M is, and the E50M puts a beautiful shot right into the STRV, but over-angles the armor. But now there's some serious drama, because the STRV only does 319 damage to the E50M, now meaning that if the STRV low rolls again, which probably happens about 3 or 4 times out of 10, that they're going to have to shoot them twice unless they ram the E50M as well. Well, the E50M needs to manage to get 2 shots into the STRV-103 to be able to take this one down. So, Toxic Rebel, do it, my friend. Now you've got to manage to shut down the STRV as the cap has been reset, and with 25 seconds left on the game, are both players going to play to win? Will the STRV take their 2-shot hit point advantage against the E50M. He is. The STRV is going to decide to commit. They're going to play to win. The STRV puts a shot in, and the E50M penetrates the STRV, but the STRV comes around the corner and manages to get the shell. Good try, Toxic Rebel. That was a close one. But also, great plays by, I'm not sure if this is an anonymized name, but C-Note on the enemy team for being aggressive at the end of the game and taking this one down for their team. These are the kind of games that I love to see in World of Tanks, the ones that go right down to the wire, where there are very few vehicles left and the winning team only has 182 hit points to go. I loved this game so much that afterwards I decided to contact Toxic Rebel in the garage. I say, good try in your E50M, you gave it a real good go, GG, well played. And then of course, I get spotted. Toxic Rebel says, oh my lord, QuickyBaby. Yeah, haha, yeah, hello. Yeah, you had a great game, well played. Shame you're playing a weak tank. And Toxic Rebel says, thanks man, love your content. Toxic Rebel, great try by you and your E50M. It was a pleasure to fight along your side. I love good plays. I love close games. That's what World of Tanks is all about. And thank you, Toxic Rebel, for making this one so fun for me. So we still get an ace tanker for the 60 TP as we're able to do 6,600 damage, which gives us a high caliber. And remember, whenever you get a battle hero medal, you still get the same equivalent amount of experience that the other team would be able to achieve, which actually means that I got the most experience in this game. We did fire a few heat rounds, but we still make an okay profit. And what I feel that we saw about the 60 TP here is that while the high explosive rounds have undoubtedly been nerfed, and you won't be able to sit there and just spam them against a chieftain turret, I feel like this vehicle has definitely lost that aspect of its gameplay, but it has massively benefited from the artillery nerfs as well. Artillery was definitely one of the kinds of vehicles that punished this thing from working a ridgeline. And while I feel that other vehicles that maybe didn't have quite as powerful high explosive rounds have just been flat out significantly buffed with the latest patch of World of Tanks, this one has lost that capacity, but it's definitely gained from the lack of artillery. And a final mention I want to make is when I was talking about this vehicle's ability to overmatch, if you end up fighting against 60 TPs and you do have a 151mm caliber gun or larger, yeah, the whole of the roof of the 60 TP is overmatchable, which I've been using a lot in duels. And that's where armor-piercing rounds are actually going to be way better than your high-explosive anti-tank rounds, which, of course, can't overmatch but can penetrate up to 85 degrees of angled armor. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And once again, a massive thank you to Toxic Rebel and also Akiro for trying to get through this one at the end. It was a pleasure to play with you both, and thank you for making the game so entertaining. Anyway, that's it. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.